Do we have any folks here from the merry band of regulars in the crowd? Anyone ever heard of Joe Giganti? Okay. All right, regular Joe Giganti. I'm going to do a quick, he doesn't need an introduction. I'm going to do it anyways. So I'm pleased to introduce regular Joe. Joe is the host of the #1 rated The Regular Joe Show, which is heard weekday mornings throughout 2/3 of the state of Wisconsin. Joe has spent more than 30 years in broadcasting and has worked in virtually every facet of the media, marketing, and communications world, including roles in executive leadership, broadcasting, public relations, crisis management, political strategy, and campaigns. As a native of Washington, D.C., we won't hold it against him. Joe has an intimate understanding of the interaction between nonprofits, think tanks, and the government. Since moving to Wisconsin in 2007, he has been very active in state and local politics through his extensive network. He is the founder of Wisconsin Strong, which is here tonight, a new nonprofit dedicated to defining and energizing the conservative movement and the Badger State, and he's incredibly involved in the pro-life movement. Joe and his wife, Kristen, are the proud parents of 5 children, and that is how pro-life he truly is. And if I'm not mistaken, he's also selling Let's Go Brandon signs at his table. Joe, come on up.
Well, hello, everybody. How are you tonight? Let's hear it one more time for Scott Pressler. That is, So they kind of suckered me in, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I said, will you speak? I said, sure. They didn't tell me I had to speak after Scott Pressler. I mean, it's like, all right, I can do this. So before I get into it, I just want to take a moment, because it is Veterans Day. And I'd like to invite all of our veterans here to please stand so that we can recognize you for your great service to our wonderful nation. That's right, let's hear it. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard. Now here's the test. Anyone from Space Force? I doubt it, but we'll get there. Now also, while we're on the question of our veterans, another part of that's often overlooked that I want to recognize, if you are the spouse or the child, a family member of a veteran, please stand and be recognized, because without you, we wouldn't have these great vets as well. They're going to pull me off the stage if I say it takes a village. No, it doesn't. Mark is going to throw something at me for that one, but no, truly, it takes the family. That's what it really takes, and that's what makes it happen each and every day. So they asked me to talk about what the problems are we're facing, how we get to solutions, which is what we're all here for. Now, there's a lot of problems. I get it. These are truly some of the darkest times in our nation. But that doesn't really mean a whole lot when it comes to the future, in that we still have hope. We were just talking about this back in the green room. Because our fight isn't Republican versus Democrat. It's not liberal versus conservative. It's good versus evil. And that means something more important. It's God versus the devil. And you choose which side you want to be on. Now, if we want to win, that means we have to be good and do good. And we can win. One thing I keep hearing, and I'm going to tell you, I won't abide it. I can't abide it. Which is that we kind of have to do a little bad to get the good. That doesn't work. We don't have to become them to beat them. I heard that great thing. Dan Miller earlier with his opening prayer. I think it was awesome, Dan. You know, and he someday said, you know, Christ died on the cross so that we could live. Jesus didn't become like the devil. He pushed the devil down. He stomped the devil down, and he got the greatest victory. That's our roadmap, how we find things. And look, there's a lot of problems. Critical race theory, election integrity, because you believe that Joe Biden got more votes than any presidential candidate in history, right? Yeah. If you do, I have this oceanfront property up north I can sell you. It's a really good deal, I promise you. Big deal. It is a big deal. Critical race theory, big deal. Abortion. The sanctity of human life underlies everything. If we can kill a child in the womb, nobody's life matters. There's no value to life if we don't see that. But those aren't the biggest. And look, as Kevin said, I've spent a big part of my career working in the pro-life movement. But right now, to me, there's three things that are our biggest problems. Now, we've got an amazing crowd here tonight. Give yourselves a round of applause for coming out tonight. This is a great crowd. I think our first challenge, and I'm not saying you, I'm not saying your neighbor, but it is a challenge. The first challenge we have is apathy. The second challenge we have is fear. And the third challenge is inaction. Because you put any of these topics, no matter which hot button issue it is, those three things will lead to failure. If we sit by and we out of, whether it's apathy, fear, inaction, a combination thereof, then we won't be victorious. And it's okay to be outraged, believe me. I have people, for those that listen, you'll hear, I get callers like, why aren't you more angry? All right, look at the wall in my garage. But anyway, I mean, but it's not enough to just be outraged. You've got to make it into something. You've got to turn it into actions that matter. And again, when we have, our emotions are a part of our humanity, but they can't control us. We cannot be a slave to our emotions. Liberals are slaves to their emotion. People that hide in their basement because they're afraid that they're going to die if they go out in public, they're slaves to their emotions. There's no science involved in that. There's nothing even healthy involved in it. Matter of fact, pretty much everything they've done in the last 20 months has been the antithesis of what's good and healthy for human beings. And they fed it to us that it's for us. But why now we face the mandates, which, let me be clear, apparently Steve Schrader, who's my producer, does a Saturday show, and apparently somebody called in and argued with him that I had gotten the shot. And he goes, well, I'm pretty sure he didn't get the shot. Let me be clear, not ever happening. It won't happen. There's not enough money or coercion in the world that'll make me do it. Now again, if you want to, that's your choice. I don't say you can't have the choice to do it. I say you have no right to force it on me. Now the only reason though that we're here with that right now is because 20 months ago, apathy, fear, and inaction allowed them to get their foothold. They said you can't go to church on Easter Sunday. And the failure on that was top down. Every pastor and bishop that lives in this country that said, well, what are we going to do? You know what you're going to do? You're going to hold Sunday services. It's a very simple thing. During that, as he's mentioned, I have 5 children. 3 of them are teenage boys. So food is, it's an art form. It's just, I think they eat it and I gain the weight. I'm not really sure how they do this. When they locked down the state of Wisconsin, we went out to dinner in public more than we ever had in before, and I did it for an important reason. One, I wasn't going to listen. I refused to listen to the governor. He had no authority to do it. But I also wanted to teach my children through action. You can lament it, we can be angry about it. They went out and had dinner with me. We sat in restaurants at times where we're the only people in the restaurant. We got a lot of really good service, by the way, so it was awesome. There were sometimes, it's kind of cool, I always, as you know, I talk about movies on the show. I compared, what was the Santa Claus. There's a scene where he's trying to cook Christmas dinner and he burns himself. And he goes like Perkins, and there's another dad, and his hand's all wrapped up, and it's all burnt. Well, we were kind of like that with the big. We were the big rebels. We'd be in a restaurant. There'd be like 1 or 2 other people there, no one wearing a mask. We'd look at each other and be like, "Yeah, we're doing it." But it's a small little thing, right? It's not a big deal. We just went out to dinner. We just continued to live our lives the way we were meant to live our lives, and we weren't going to be controlled. That's part of fighting back. Who's heard of the phrase, death by 1,000 paper cuts? You hear it? Well, victory comes by 1,000 small steps all going forward. And that's part of this action. It's not, look, we don't always need somebody that's going to swoop in and fix everything in one fell swoop. That works in the movies, not so much in life. But we need everybody willing to take those small steps, willing to do whatever little thing they can do, whether it's showing up and going out for dinner, whether it's saying to your boss or to your, maybe you are the boss, whatever it might be, we're just not going to do this. We're not going to play the game. Well, right, we're not going to comply. But more than not complying, we're going to be proactive. I've been saying this on the show for a couple weeks now since this ocean nonsense has come out. I mean, really, there's only one acronym that scares good, God-fearing Americans more than ocean. That's FEMA. But I mean, that's, OSHA's coming to save the day. Oh, all right, we're all dead now. I mean, look. The fact of the matter is, if you own a business, it's a very simple sentence to the government. No. Go with Nancy. I'm right here. I'll take the call. No. Go with Nancy Reagan. Just say no. Look what happened when Southwest Airlines, 3% of their pilots didn't show up one day. Guess what? Southwest blinked, and they backed off on the mandate. If we stand up and say no, there's more of us than there are them. So the problems we have are not being frustrated, not caring. I know every one of you care, but is making sure we turn that frustration into something that will actually effectively make a difference, which is where I came up with that little phrase I have, which is think smart, act effectively, work together. One thing I want everyone to do tonight before they go is get to know the people around you. There's great organizations outlining this entire the room, but there's also great individuals. Maybe they have a group, maybe they don't. Maybe you guys get together and have a book club or read the Bible together, whatever it takes to get to know each other and to understand something. Because when it comes to act effectively, that before you can do that, you have to think smart. And I had a guy, I was in Wausau, whatever the Saturday was after January 6th. And we were doing a rally up there, and I'm giving a speech. This gentleman who I get very frustrated, patriotic American, starts heckling me from the crowd, because I'm a liberal, and says, we need to go in and drag Nancy Pelosi out by her neck. And I looked at him and I said, well, I'm not going to give your eulogy at your funeral either. Because what is that really? What's that going to accomplish? First of all, you won't get past the front doors. Let's be clear. But what is it really going to do? It's going to give them every excuse they want to crush conservatives as fast as possible. That's not thinking smart. I promise you something. What the left wants, what the evil people, what the devil wants, is for you to give into those frustrations, to give into those anger moments and do something stupid. They beg you to do it. Now, if you had I've had a few bad bosses in my career. That's why I work for myself now. But anyway, simplest way to fix it, start your own company. But I learned something because I had a bad boss. I was too young to realize I was running a radio station in Washington, D.C., and I was doing very well, but I didn't realize he didn't want to do very well. He had bought the station as a tax write-off, so he wanted it to do bad. He didn't tell me. I thought he was serious, so I programmed the station. We're getting ratings, and he started to really lay in heavy on me on a daily basis, accusing me of trying to destroy the station, get rid of all this stuff. I was 19 years old, and I did something that most 19-year-olds might do. I got into my boiling point. I was out on a live remote, and he called, I called him because all of a sudden the music stopped playing, and they started playing music that I hadn't programmed. So I called the studio, and what are you doing? You're killing me out here. Got a crowd and everything else. And they said, Bill said to do it. So I called Bill, and I said, and what are you doing? He starts yelling at me. And so I said, three words, go something yourself. And then I said, I quit. And I literally walked out because I'm going to show him. I'm going to walk out in the middle of this remote, which is a big moneymaker for the station, and it's all going to go downhill, and they're going to miss me, and they're going to hate everything, and I'm going to show him. And in reality, I was unemployed. And I was blacklisted for a while because, I told the owner of the station to take a long leap. It didn't work. Now, I learned a little later in life when I had a bad boss, if you really want to frustrate him, don't quit. Matter of fact, stay there, do the job, smile the whole time as they're saying this to you, and watch. It kills them. It absolutely kills them. So the same is true now. Don't give them what they want. Give them what we need, which is victory. And we can have that victory. We don't have to become them to win. As a matter of fact, I promise you, if we try to be like them, we will lose. Because it gains nothing to give up all that we believe in for a hollow victory. And that's all it would be if it even happens. But we're never going to out-cheat the cheaters. We're never going to we can't outdo the devil at being the devil. We don't need that. We have the single greatest weapon known to man. We have the truth. And if we fight and use the truth for what we're going to do, we will find a way. Now look, there's no simple battle plan, right? We can't say step 1, do this, step 2, step 3. Because we're blazing new trails. You tell me the time in the history of the United States that we've been in this situation where we have to sit there and legitimately wonder, was the last election real? Even in the state of Wisconsin, if the effeminate speaker could find his backbone, we might actually find out what really happened in 2020. The people want majority. Look, people want a supermajority. I think that's an awesome idea. People want the skeleton, the man who we don't know if he has a pulse, one-term Tony, out of office. Absolutely down with that. If you want an army to show up and make that happen, then get to the bottom of what happened in November of 2020. Do it fully, transparently, with a full forensic cyber audit, nothing less. If they would just do it and get to the bottom of it, then they could have that army, no matter what the outcome is. Doesn't matter what the result, well, it matters what the result is. But even if the result comes out, and look, for whatever crazy reason, Joe Biden won the state. But we did a full forensic cyber audit that was fully transparent. We got there. By the way, if we do that, that's not going to be the result. But let's pretend. Let's pretend. They like to pretend on the left. Let's pretend that's going to get us there. Get to that result, and I promise you, they will have that army. I promise you, you will have turnout like you've never seen before. But it's not, this isn't a give, right? It's not, we'll just show up in November and vote for us because as one elected member of the assembly said to me, what are they going to do, vote for the Democrat? And I said, no, we're not that stupid. But apparently you forgot there's people that can challenge you in a primary, and you forgot about write-ins. You cannot take the voter for granted. I crisscrossed this state leading up to Donald Trump's to the election in November 2020, and there were tons of people out there. Not everyone did everything we hoped they would do, but there wasn't a lack of energy. But there was at the state level. I mean, let's be clear. And this is not hyperbole. I can pull the quotes out of the newspaper. The speaker is a virulently anti-Trump guy. So is the majority leader in the assembly. That's their choice, right? I mean, I'm not saying they have to be, Mr. Trump's the greatest thing, but then don't do cameos with him either. But don't pretend like you were out there pulling out all the stops to make things happen. And now that we're in this position, you have the chance to make right, and do the right thing. So again, what do we have to focus on? Whatever the issue is, it's ending the apathy. It's not being afraid. One of the things people have said to me, and I appreciate this, we love the show because you put voice to what we're feeling. And I'm happy to do it. I love doing it every day, being on the air with you guys, being out in these events. But I can't be the only voice. You've got to use your voices too. And it doesn't have to be a big speech. It can be as simple as, no, I don't think so. I walked into a store where the woman said, you're going to need to put a mask on. I said, no, I'm not. And she said, well, if you want to buy something, you are. I said, do you want to go out of business? And she thought for a second. I said, because, I spend this particular store, I spend about $300 every time I walk in here. She knew I'm a frequent customer. She thought for a second. She goes, well, just be quick. So I just went and got my stuff, and I left. Again, it can be done. But it takes each and every one of us. We don't have to be mean-spirited. We don't have to be rude. We don't have to create a scene. It's just a matter of being what we are. And do you know what we are? We're Americans, and we are free. And this is the land of the free and the home of the brave. And that's what we have to be. Not yesterday, not last year, today, tomorrow, and every day forward. And if we are that, I promise you, it may not be easy, but we will win. I thank each and every one of you. God bless you. And remember those 3 important words. Live life boldly. Thank you very much, everybody.